Let's chant a little bit. Ekongkar Satnam Sri Waheguru. 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 So please bring your hands to the center of your chest. Inhale deeply. Exhale. Inhale deeply. Exhale and take all the air out of your lungs. Inhale to begin. Om Namo GuruDev Namo. Om Namo GuruDev Namo. Om Namo GuruDev Namo. Adgurename Jugadgurename Satgurename Sri Gurudeve Name. Adguren Name, Jugadguren Name, Satguren Name, Sri Gurudev Name. Adguren Name, Jugadguren Name, Satguren Name, Sri Gurudev Name. Well, this morning I'm going to talk about a topic that, when I tell you the topic, you're probably going to think it belongs in the women's camp. And it's about the sensitivity of men. You say, well, sensitivity, we didn't come to men's camp to be sensitive. But in reality, I think we are here because we need to be sensitive in many different levels. Last year, in the class that I taught here, I really talk a lot about how women tend to really mess up our own lives, but not by not listening to our emotions, by not being in contact with our emotions, by suppressing them. And when we do this, we only ask for trouble. You see, emotions are one of those, they're emotions, which means that it is something that's going to set us in motion. Emotions represent the drive to go anywhere, to be able to do what we need to do with men, as men. And if we don't have emotion, we can't do anything. We don't have a passion to be able to penetrate, because that's what men do. We don't have the strength to go through whatever we need to do to get things done. So this aspect that normally we as men are not very able, that we don't usually have enough tools to deal with, and we try to say, okay, well, emotions are for girls. In reality, emotions are quite basic. Emotions represent, the core of our limbic system. And the core of a limbic system is very powerful. It is much more powerful than our, in terms of our evolution, in terms of everything. Our limbic system is much more powerful than our rational mind. And we are always making decisions based on emotions. So this is something we talked about last year. And, we left it sort of in the space of, we as men need to deal with emotions and need to learn how to deal with emotions, or else. The alternative is that if we don't do this, we're going to end up alone, we're going to end up messing up everybody around us, and we're going to end up pretty shallow and not feeling much. It's very common for me to talk to some men and hear them say that I feel totally numb. I don't feel anything anymore. I don't feel even motivation. I've been, in this business of suppressing my own emotions for so long that I cannot I can't connect with anybody else. I can't connect with another human being. I don't even have a passion for work. I don't even have a passion for money anymore. Have you ever had that experience? Have you ever heard a conversation like that? It's pretty common. So my idea today was to take this this topic a little further, in sense of exploring exactly why is it that being a sensitive man, it is important, and why it is not only important, it is our way to be a self-realized, sovereign human man. Without sensitivity, we have no way of getting anywhere. So you might be thinking that some men are very driven to just, get rid of all their emotions so that they can get into nirvana and disconnect from the world. And yeah, some men are driven by that. But some men are also driven by running away from emotions. And all of us, each one of us in this room, I'm sure, each one of us has run away from emotion in one way or another. And we'll get into that in a little while. Emotion is really about having this capacity as a man to be able to manifest our destiny. Manifesting your destiny without understanding your emotions is like trying to cross the ocean without a ship. So what I would like to start the day doing is that we start doing a little yoga and a little meditation. And we're going to do it in a very sensitive way. In terms of, yeah, we're going to do a regular Kriya. But I want to ask you to really be sensitive of what you're feeling inside of you. Sensitivity starts feeling what's inside of you. Feeling what is happening in the core of yourself. And there's absolutely no better tool than Kundalini Yoga to do this. So are you ready? Okay. So please come into cow pose like we were this morning in sadhana. And as we go through this kriya, I would like you to really pay very close attention to everything that is happening inside of your body. How the energy is moving, how the prana is moving, where there is blocks, where things flow. And at this point, you know, and during this kriya, really be sensitive about your pains, about your strengths, and it's an inner journey. So let's start this. And to do this, you know, to the first exercise, lift your right arm and put it parallel to the ground. And your left leg parallel to the ground in the back. And balance yourself out. And just begin breathing long and deep. As you try to perfect the posture, to make it whole, by lifting your arm to the right place and lifting your leg to be parallel to the ground, feel the effects on your muscles. Feel the weight of gravity. Observe, observe, observe. That's all I want to ask you to do right now. Observe your body. Observe the effects and the consequences and the sequences that we're going through. We're going to do it in a very meditative way. In a sense that the main part of this exercise, and of all these exercises in this kriya, is your capacity to observe and to feel what is happening within your own body. Switch sides. Take note. Don't let your mind wander. Let your mind observe. It is not judging. It is not evaluating. It is not competing. It is just observing, looking. It's even looking at itself complain. It's even looking at itself having doubts. But just observe. Inhale deeply. Exhale. And slowly come into rock pose. Sit quietly with your eyes closed. And again, continue the same meditative stance. In this state of meditation, feel. Don't fear, feel. Observe yourself breathe. Observe your heartbeat. Observe your blood flow. Observe how prana moves around your body. You know, if there's a place where you cannot feel, imagine that you're feeling there. What is that space telling you? Where you feel numbness. Make it feel with your imagination. Open it up. Inhale deeply. And exhale. Now please come on to your back. Lift your legs 1 foot above ground, and if you need to support yourself in the buttocks, do so. And just continue breathing long and deep. As we move to through these exercises, you will start feeling different things. You might be feeling a pain in your lower back. You might feel that your nervous system is shaking a little bit. You might feel that your muscles are aching. Just observe. Don't do anything but observe. Sometimes your mind starts going into that space of saying, how long is this exercise going to be? Observe that too. Everything observe it. Get back into the position of an observer. Inhale deeply. And relax. Again, scan your body. Feel, and anywhere that needs light, send light. Anywhere that it needs pranic energy, send pranic energy. Scan every molecule of your body and do that. Inhale deeply. Exhale and come lying on your stomach. And put your fists under your groin and and now lift your legs in the back. and continue breathing long and deep. Right above your pelvic bone, there's a little space there where you can put those two fists and let the pressure go into that area, which is really the area of the iliac and the psoas muscle. We need to relax this area. We accumulate a lot of stuff there. And if we do not relax the psoas and the iliac, it'll automatically start creating and sending triggers to your adrenals to create stress hormones. So that happens automatically without even you getting stressed. Think about that. Meditate in this area and let it relax. Inhale deeply and relax. Again, go back into that very profound state of observation. It is you observing your body. It is you observing your energy. It is you observing your mind. Now take hold of your heels, but you're going to take hold of them by putting your hands in the inside part of your heels, not in the outside. Put your chin on the ground and try to join your knees. Doesn't have to be totally together, but just the tendency is to be together. And now, with your hands, try to push your heels apart and resist with your heels. You should feel these muscles in the hip and in the buttocks. You can move it a little bit, like, back and forth, and keep this game of pushing and contracting. Now, this exercise doesn't seem like much, but you're actually working a little muscle that is in your buttocks. It's called the piriformis. And this muscle is really responsible for a lot of havoc in your life. That's where you start accumulating stress. Piriformis. Or maybe you have a better way of pronouncing it. Many of the problems we have with the hips have to do with this little muscle, and it gets atrophied because we're sitting in a computer all day. And as you relax it, all your hip joint begins to relax, and you are able to relax the iliac and the psoas, and then you start relaxing your stress. And when you relax your stress, then you can start talking about emotions. Okay, now put your hands on the other side, towards the, on the outside of your ankles. And I want you to invert now the position. Now you're pushing, you're pushing with you're pulling with your hands and pushing with your legs. Try to feel that particular muscle. It goes sideways below your buttocks. Inhale deeply and relax. Go back into observing position, observer stance, and observe yourself. Observe your buttocks. Tell it to relax. Learn to be sensitive about your own body. Our body many times is telling us what's wrong with it. And we decide to ignore it. Or we don't even have many times the skill to listen to it. Right now is the time to listen to it. Inhale deeply. Exhale. Excellent. Now come into rock pose. Actually, celibate pose. That means that if you can sit in between your heels, that would be best for this particular exercise. And interlace your hands like this in Venus lock behind your back. And begin to inhale up, exhale, go down. And continue. Again, observe what's happening in your buttocks, in your hip, in your lower back. You know, this kriya is pretty, it's quite mellow, most of it. Yet it's called challenge the ego in you. So even a kind of a simple exercise has the effect of challenging your ego. Because your ego doesn't want to think about your butt, right? Again, this is an excellent opportunity for you to listen to your breath, to follow the path of the prana that is coming into your lungs, and how that air energy, that pranic energy, gets converted into vital, life-giving force energy, and how that gets distributed throughout your whole body. Observe it. This is the practice of listening to your own self, listening to your own experience, listening to your body. Bring your hands as far up as you can in the back. Inhale up. Release the breath. And again, go into deep space of observing. feel. Feel. And if you can't feel, imagine you're feeling. Connect to your body. Connect to every part of your body, consciously. Very well. Now, please come and bring your legs apart. You know, the same exercise we did in the morning. Legs apart. Straight ahead. You know, open, and grab hold of your toes. And begin inhaling up, exhaling right, inhaling up, exhaling to the left, and continue this exercise. This exercise brings balance to the first 3 chakras. And in doing so, it lets you get rid of attachments and old habits and a bunch of karma that comes from those 3 perspectives of the 3 first chakras. So, get into it. Breathe. Observe and feel and move. 4 things: move, observe, feel, and breathe. Inhale in the center. Exhale. Sit in easy pose, and again go into your observing stance. And now that you are developing this capacity to observe yourself, go into the state of connecting, of connection. Sensitivity is required to be able to connect. Connect to your heart center. Connect to your navel center. Feel the life. Inhale deeply. Exhale. Now we're going to do some frogs. So please come into frog pose. So we're going to inhale up, exhale down. Inhale up. And exhale. And come lying on your back and rest. Deeply relax. It's going to be, you're going to be aware of your relaxation. You're going to be observing your relaxation. You're going to be connecting with your own self. And as you feel connected with your own body, begin to connect your own body, your own self, to something greater, to the totality, to infinity. Hamiham Brahma, 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 bring back your awareness to your body. Hamiham Brahma. Begin moving your fingers. Hamiham Brahma. Begin moving your feet and your hands. Hamiham Brahma. Begin moving your arms and your legs. Hamiham Brahma. Stretch. Hamiham Brahma. Hamiham Brahma. Hamiham Brahma. Hamiham Brahma. Hamiham Brahma. Rub your hands and your feet. Hamiham Brahma. Hamiham Brahma. Hamiham Brahma. Roll back and forth. Hamiham Brahma. Hamiham Brahma. And come sitting in easy pose. Seldom as men we take time off to feel, to become sensitive. Do you find that? How many of you have taken some time away to just feel yourself, within yourself? Okay. Many have, many haven't. And it is an incredible practice. Because if we don't do this, we just lose the capacity to feel. It's the same as when you don't use a muscle and then, a little time later you can't move anything because your muscle has grown weak. We have to exercise the capacity to be sensitive. And that begins with ourselves. Many times when we're in relationships with women, one of the things that we hear very often is that we're not sensitive to whatever they're telling us, whatever that we're hearing from them. And many times they're right. They're right because we haven't begun by beginning to be sensitive with our own self. And this aspect of sensitivity, is so important. Yogi Bhajan used to say we have to become multisensory human beings. How can we become multisensory human beings if we can't even feel our muscles, or we can't even feel our life? Or we have all these areas of, where we're just blocking the feeling about that. We as men have kind of been programmed from the beginning not to feel, because, boys were not supposed to cry. You're not supposed to do anything but just grin and bear it. This is a very cultural thing that we have gone through. How many of you, just show of hands, sometime in your life you were told that boys don't cry or don't show your emotion because you're going to be shamed? How many have ever been told that? We all have been told that. And it's a lie. It's an absolute lie. So let's delve in why this happens. Why do we men have this tendency to bury our emotions? And it has to do really with our evolution, because we, as men, evolved from a stock of beings, of creatures, that in those days we had to bring the food home no matter what. So we had to cross the mountain range and come back with food, otherwise our whole tribe, if not our family, was going to starve. And if we cut ourselves, or we had an accident on the way, we didn't have any excuse not to bring the food home. We just had to come bring it home. So we kind of evolved with this capacity to, as men, we evolved with this capacity to, for the short term, blunt pain and not feel it, because we can go through it, And sometimes the projection of a man requires that. Sometimes it is needed that you set your pain aside and you do what you have to do. That is a quality of men. But that quality also can become a burden. And when it becomes a burden, that burden takes us down pretty fast. Because that is a good quality and a good capacity to go and do whatever you need to do to bring food to your family and to your tribe. But that capacity and that ability has nothing to do with, the way that you're relating to your woman, or the way that you're dealing with your children, or the way you're dealing with your job. It is really one of those things that sometimes we need, but most of the time we don't. So we like to bury this. Then we use a bunch of other strategies that are quite interesting. Because, as humans, especially as men, we're driven by two things at the most basic of levels, which is pain and pleasure. Our whole body, our whole nervous system is geared, and it is wired for us to be able to go towards pleasure and get away from pain, right? Nobody likes pain. None of us likes pain. And when we're growing up, we inevitably face pain, like that moment when you were a kid and they say, boys do not cry. Shut up. Take it like a man. And in that moment, when we're immature, we don't know what to do with that energy, because we have an emotion. We have something that is bothering us, and we have nothing to do with it. We don't have the resources at that stage to be able to resolve that pain that we're taking. So we're willing to do anything to get rid of that pain. So let me give you just an example. One that really drives a lot of us. And that is a pain that is caused by shame. We normally, most of us humans, hate shame, right? Nobody wants to be shamed. Nobody wants to feel, shame drives so many of our traumas that it's just really amazing. So when we're young and we don't have the tools, we face a moment where we face shame. And at that moment, we might feel that our parents did not protect us and didn't protect us from shame. Maybe the shame was brought on by our parents themselves without even knowing it, or maybe they did know it. And what did we do? When we're having a mature way of dealing with this, we shift it. And we shift it by blaming the shame on someone else. So for instance, it's very common to find children that even though the parents are the object and they're the source of the shame, and it's really basically shame on them as parents, many times we as children say, no, there's something wrong with me because my parent, my father, is there to support me, to give me security, because at that stage of life we need security. So that shame that person, that father or that mother is bringing to me, I'm suddenly interpreting it as, this is a risky situation. I don't like pain, and it's coming from the source that I love, so therefore I must be the one that has the problem. And we grow up thinking that we're not worthy enough because our parents did not appreciate us. And we grow up not understanding that at that moment of time and space, we were subjected to pain, and the only thing we could do was blame it on somewhere else. Send the blame somewhere else. But that energy and that emotion of shame that is very powerful lodged itself somewhere in our body. Our nervous system is so complex, and our minds are so complex, that we have the capacity to store these memories in weird places. We can store this memory, for example, in the gut. We have, an amazing, complicated part of our nervous system is in the gut. We have neurons connected to the vagus nerve, directly to the brain. We have it in the heart. And we're capable of forgetting something in our brain, in our mind, and storing it here, or storing it here. We can even store it in different parts of our back. So whenever you're doing some yoga exercise and suddenly you trigger this, you really sort of open the can of worms, so to say, and this blocked emotion just comes up, and sometimes we feel that we're crying, we feel that we feel very emotional. This happens very often in Kundalini yoga class, right? You've seen it? It is because we touched something that was very painful, and then suddenly, without even consciously knowing about it, this emotion overwhelms us. We don't even know where it's coming from, but it overwhelms us. It's in our unconscious mind. It is in places where our consciousness normally cannot get to. Tomorrow I'm going to talk about how to get to those places in terms of how to find that way to really find that part of yourself that needs to come out of the closet. It is really about coming out of the closet. Not as a gay man or anything else, but coming out of the closet as you yourself. In us, we cannot be ourselves as long as we have all that garbage stored in our mind, in our nervous system, in our subconscious mind, in our unconscious mind, in any part of ourselves. We cannot be ourselves. No way. Because otherwise, we can't be ourselves because we're being controlled by those thoughts. We're being controlled by those emotions that we're not entirely aware we have. It is just like an addict that really has a disease. Because his brain or her brain is just so responsive to a particular, addiction, that they will do anything to get to that addiction just to stimulate the pleasure part of their brain. And as soon as they do that, they feel well emotionally. But, that's just temporary. And unless that particular addictive substance is present, they won't be able to feel anything else. But we have to transform this pain into something else. And to do that, the first stage is to be able to stay with that pain and be able to be present with that pain. We have to acknowledge it, we have to see it, we have to let it work with it. We need to go into deep space of meditation and let it flourish in our brain, in our mind, in our vision. Be present with it. We need to connect with it. Because the only solution to that pain is consciousness. And consciousness through Kundalini Yoga really comes in so many ways. It comes through meditation, it comes through the sound current, it comes through doing satkriya, through breath, through prana. And as soon as we start doing that and stimulating this, we're beginning to be present with the pain. We need to be friends with pain. Because if we're not friends with pain, we cannot be friends with joy. Period. There's no way. In our nervous system, nobody really knows where in our nervous system is a circuit called the pain circuit. It's not there. It's just a mental process. But it does stimulate certain patterns in the brain, in certain areas of the brain. When a brain is in pain, you can see that brain is how it is experiencing pain with the new technology. You can see that. But you know what is so amazing? Is that those are the same areas in the brain that we use to experience joy. So if we suppress pain, we suppress joy. If we take alcohol to suppress the brain from feeling any pain, we are destroying our capacity to feel joy. So this is the real kind of the fine mechanism of how we get into the space of numbness. We try to evade pain. We try to stimulate artificially the joy and the happiness, but it's unsustainable. Because pain is a real human experience. Joy is a real human experience. And we have to deal with both with consciousness, and we have to bring it up in the process of consciousness. Without the possibility of this, if we suppress only pain, and then therefore we suppress joy, we suppress beauty and the ability to appreciate beauty. We suppress the ability to be able to connect, because connection is the supreme joy. We suppress the ability to really be ourselves, because we're incomplete. We're just pleasure-seeking beings, pleasure-seeking men, trying to evade pain. And no, what I want to tell you today is that doesn't happen like that. Pain is good. Pain is good when it's brought to with the light of consciousness. And there's no reason you have to evade it. Pain, as every emotion, is a signal from our soul that there's something that we need to do to fix in our own consciousness. That is the function of pain. Yogi Bhajan used to say that, I heard him once say, that there's two ways of growing in consciousness in this planet. One is through meditation, and the other one is through pain. He said, take your pick. Which one do you want? Which one do we want? Meditation or pain? Right. Even if it's being like this for 62 minutes? But it is pain, that is so amazing to me that sometimes I see people that have never meditated, and suddenly they are faced with incredible pain because either they're facing death, imminent death, or because they have a terrible illness, or somebody near them is going through something that is completely moving their world, and they go into the space of pain. And what emerges after that traumatic experience, is a being, a human being that is more connected and has more possibilities of feeling life. Have you seen that? There's people that are about to die, and they went through hell, medical hell, and then they came back and says, I have a mission, I decided I'm not going to live like I was living before. Life is too good. Have you seen that? Have you heard of that? That is what happens when our consciousness shifts. So this shift of consciousness can happen through pain, or it can happen through meditation. So wherever we are at in this process, let's be so grateful and understanding that this teaching, this Kundalini Yoga that we have been given, it is so powerful to give us this possibility to unlock the darkness of pain. Take it as the fertilizer where we can put these seeds, and then something incredible is going to happen. This is why we need to be sensitive. Sensitivity is, when we are not sensitive, normally there's one reason we're not sensitive. And that reason is that because we've been running away from pain too long. We don't want to see it. We don't want to feel it. We don't want to relate to it. I'm running away. Without realizing that I'm paying a big other price in the process. And this applies to everything. It applies to relationships, it applies to businesses, it applies to your professional life. We as men, if there is something that we need to be courageous, is we have to be courageous in the face of pain and suffering. This is something that has motivated yogis from times immemorial. Yoga is yoga today because it's been an experiment on how to get rid of pain and suffering. That is what has motivated yogis throughout all ages to do that. It is not about getting into God and all that. Yeah, that's eventually you get to that. But the real reason we invented yoga was to get and run away from pain. Not run away, to solve it. And we understood that through consciousness, we could relate to suffering. And we could solve it. So this equation of, can I get rid of my pain? Is yes. That what do I need to bring balance into this equation to make it happen? You need to bring this courageousness, especially as a man. You have to have the courage to go there where that pain is and say, okay, let's have a conversation. What are you telling me? Pain and suffering, again, I'm going to repeat this several times, are the signals of the soul. And the soul is telling you, wake up, man. There's something here that is not working for me. There's something you're doing in your life that I'm not registering, that I'm feeling abandoned. The soul also wants to feel connected to you. Your soul also wants to give you light. And the moment that we suppress the possibility of feeling the language of the soul, which comes through emotions, we suppress the possibility to listen to our soul. And when we do that, we suppress the possibility of listening and knowing what our destiny is. And without knowing that, we lose every possibility of understanding what our depth as a man is. We lose every possibility of understanding what our depth as a man is. This is what we do normally. We lose our depth because we do not want pain. And because we just chase after joy. And we chase after joy as men, with sex, with drugs, and rock and roll, and many other devices. Art, politics, power, name it. But just chasing after pleasure without listening to your emotions. Without listening to your emotions, you cannot listen to your own self, to your own deeper self. I know there's this idea that you get into your very neutral mind and then you can figure everything out. Well, the neutral mind is this space where you can be in peace, where emotions can be transformed, and where these emotions can become devotion. So Yogi Bhajan used to say that every emotion has to have two possible outcomes. Either it's going to become commotion, meaning that I'm going to make big drama around my life. I'm going to be uncommitted. I'm going to be insulting. I'm going to do whatever I want to do because I have the right to do whatever I want. And you create all this drama and all this pain around you. This is commotion. The other possibility is getting this emotion and converting it into devotion. And this is done in the alchemy of the neutral mind. Because it is in that neutral mind that you can look at that emotion. And when it is a negative emotion specifically, you can say, hey, anger, shame, what are you trying to tell me? That my father was evil? That nobody loves me? That's commotion, right? Or you can say, hey, shame, what are you trying to tell me? Devotion will tell you. Shame is telling you that you need to appreciate yourself, that you're the best that God could create. That doesn't matter how many idiots around are telling you that you're an idiot. You are the Son of God. Period. And this is a quality that a man is required to have, to be able to tell ourselves, I'm a man of God, I have consciousness, I have strength, regardless of whatever anybody else tells me, regardless of what my father used to tell me, regardless of whether he loved me or not, regardless of whether, my boss thinks I'm an idiot. I am not. And I refuse to live by that idea that I'm an idiot. You can even convert idiots with that thought. Really. We had a very famous senator in the United States. And he was bordering on that, he was not very smart. But he went, when he was in school, when he was high school, the principal called the parents in, said, your son is an idiot. He should just drop out of high school, go to a special school, and just be functional. And the mother said, there's no way my child's an idiot. He is not an idiot. He is not an idiot. And, she really got on top of the principal. She refused to put him into special school. And she got it into his head that he was not an idiot. He eventually went to law school. And he eventually became a famous senator from Texas. When you see his voting record, in fact, he was kind of not very smart. But he was convinced, that his projection, he manifested the thought. He did not let anybody weaken his resolve. He was able to, be more than functional in life, to provide to his family, to even be famous, to even have a couple of laws under his name. So this is the power that we have as men of really controlling what we're telling ourselves. And this capacity to control what we are telling ourselves really depends on how we value ourselves and how we understand ourselves. If we have all these unidentified flying emotions in our body, which we have not resolved, all these traumas that we've been carrying, because we all have traumas, one way or the other, and we just let ourselves flow with that process, then we will never have a control over our mind, and we won't be able to have the capacity to bring devotion to the fore. Now let me tell you how normally this works in Kundalini Yoga versus the conversation of being an idiot or not an idiot, like in this case that I gave you. Because it is not about being an idiot or not an idiot. It is about being conscious or not being conscious. It is not about how smart you are. It is not about how incredibly, what ability you have or not. We can all develop whatever ability we want. If we have the patience and we have the capacity to sit down and practice, and we can do it. The one thing that we can do and practice every day is tell ourselves we are conscious men. And as men of consciousness, we have to get away from this basic consciousness, which is a survival consciousness that I have to grab anything I want or can to survive the next day, to protect myself first and to protect my family, my tribe, to get to this other state of consciousness where you understand that you're serving the whole, that we're serving all. It is not about me. The real model of a man is about us. We cannot go from me to us without taking care of our pain. Because pain is giving us the signals of where we need to go, how we need to act, what we need to do to get to the state of consciousness. And this is why we need sensitivity. Because as we increase our consciousness, we become more. So, for example, in a relationship, I can be totally into myself in a relationship, and I can just use a woman for my needs and for my sexual desire, and then next day I change it for another one and go on like that, and so forth. That is like a very basic animal instinct, biological way of being as a man. Or I can expand my sensitivity. And my sensitivity involves being able to feel her. So if you ever had the experience, and I'm sure you've had, the difference of having, for example, sex because you're just having sex, or having sex because you're really feeling what she is feeling, and you're reaching out to her through your own sensitivity, that other experience is so much more incredible. Right? Have you felt that? It is so much more incredible to be outside of myself. I'm in, having a relationship, intimate relationship with another human being. I'm extending my sensitivity beyond myself, and thus I become more. And as I become more, in my nature as a man to conquer things, I grow. And I feel a sense of victory. But it doesn't have to stop with a woman. It can continue to the all. You can get to this point, like Yogi Bhajan says, if you cannot see God in all, you can't see God in all, at all. I would add a little bit to that too. I would say, if you cannot feel God in all, you cannot feel God at all. Feeling is more powerful than anything. If I can feel God present in each one of you, I'm going to feel an incredible depth to my own being. But if I'm sitting inside of my own little cocktail of neurotic thought, of self-limiting thoughts, of trauma and drama and commotion, if I'm sitting in that soup, I won't be able to even have the sensitivity to connect outside, because the sensitivity is all taken up. All of my sensitivity bandwidth is taken up in listening to my own bullshit. So I know we all have a certain amount of bullshit that we have to deal with. And each one of us is in different state and a different point in that. But I want to tell you that the moment that you are able to deal with that bullshit and go beyond it, that's the moment that you as a man will become a giver. And when that happens, then you really start to become a man. That is why we need sensitivity. To be able to extend our sense, not only to myself, but to the all. You know, Buddha, when he was figuring out what to do to get rid of suffering, he happened to be running around in India when it was a very exciting time. There were sadhus and swamis and fakirs and, you name it. There was like a giant experiment going on in the Ganges plain of people trying to figure out what to do with suffering because they had suffered too much already. The history of India at that point was pain after pain after pain after loss. So these ancient yogis, explorers of the human spirit, took to the forest because they couldn't deal with any more of the stupid things that were happening in the cities, and they started exploring. Well, Buddha was one of these, and when he took off out of his castle and in his palace because he was a prince, he went with different groups and with different teachers. Some told him, stop eating. Others told him, just keep in total silence. And he would do it perfectly. He went with a group of yogis, and the yogis said, just stay in this posture, perfect posture for, 30 years. You still go to India, and there's people that are sitting in a corner or sitting in one space that they vowed never to move from that space, and they've been there for 30 years. So there's still this experiment, even though some of these experiments have not been successful, but they keep reproducing themselves. But Buddha tried all this. He said, no, that idea of standing in one single place doesn't work for me. He tried it. Doing all this yoga, just doing yoga and all these postures, that didn't work for me either. And then one of the last things he did was stop eating and then he realized, at one moment he had this epiphany and he said, did I really come to this planet to starve myself to death? This is the path to liberation, to starve myself to death? And he got into this space of despair, just imagine the emotion. You've given away your treasure, your wife, your family, your city. You've invested, 15, 20 years of living in this jungle with cold and mosquito bites and, just imagine the jungle, 500 years BC. Snakes and hell. I mean, it was probably not very much fun. And to reach the point where it says, this has not worked. But, he felt very frustrated, I would venture to say. He doesn't express it like that, and history does not express it like that. But if I were in his shoes, I would be very frustrated. And that would be a very strong emotion. Then I would have to stop and say, what is this frustration telling me? Well, first of all, that I need to eat. Because I can't even think without eating. So that's what he did. He started eating. He says, well, now, what do? I feel totally left out. I've tried everything that I have been able to try. I've gone with these yogis and with those guys, and I've just ran through all the different options, and I haven't found a solution. So after he ate, he was sitting in a tree. And when he was sitting in the tree, he started really reflecting, and he thought to himself, okay, let me recap. I mean, my life up to now has been a complete, talk about non-success. It was just total, what do you call it? I have the Spanish word and not the English word. Failure, right. My life is a complete failure. I'm old now, a lot older than when I started. I have a discipline. I can do anything. That's a given, but I have reached nowhere. So he started to reflect and said, okay, what is it? There has to be a solution to this. So this is the conversation with the soul. You struggle with your own soul. You struggle with your own question. You face your own suffering and you say, suffering, I understand. I don't want to carry you anymore. When was it in my life that I was not carrying this suffering? So he started to remember. And as he remembered, he recalled one day then when he was a little boy. He was a prince and he was carried around from one place to the other. And he was placed right next to a place where they were cultivating. They were going with a plow. And he was an innocent boy, and he was looking at this mound of ants, that they built this mound of ants. And suddenly he sees the plow that comes and just runs over the mound of ants. And remembers that at that moment he felt the pain that the ants were feeling. He felt empathy and compassion for these ants. He thought, oh my God, they've been working on this. They have created their home. They have their queen there. They have, whatever he imagined. And down comes this plow and just destroys this in a minute. And at that moment, he felt that his heart opened. He felt connected to something that was not his own pain. He compared the pain of losing everything in a single pass of the plow that the ants were feeling versus his pain that he consciously had given away everything and nothing had happened. But he did remember that in that moment when he felt empathy for something else, for something outside of himself, when he felt sensitivity towards something else out of his own neurotic quest, he felt connected to the universe. And he said, I'm onto something here. And he started meditating. Now, most of us get a moment of epiphany like that. And we just, okay, we have it. Buddha had such yogic training and such capacity for meditation and sacrifice that he was able to take it even to the next level. He just sat down and kept meditating. And he went through all the valleys of the mind. He came, through all this process of this very profound meditation until he reached a point where he found a very special connection, a very profound and deep connection to everything. And he called it nirvana. And that was his state, that state of ecstasy, that state of bliss. It is a state of being in contact, in relationship to everything. You can imagine that being in nirvana is about, looking at how the past and the present and the future of the universe happened, and how souls come from one end of the universe and appear in another, and how people carry their karmas from one lifetime to another. And you can explain why that plant is sitting there, what it grew. It's none of that. Nirvana is this feeling of relationship in a very profound way. A consciousness that you feel and you see God in all. So, emotion can feed commotion, and that is unconscious game playing that our mind is doing. Or our mind can feed devotion. And you know what happens when the mind feeds devotion? It creates back emotion. And this emotion that comes back is not shame, it is not joy, it is beyond that. It is bliss. It is an emotion that gives us the sense that we are definitely not alone in any way, place, or form. That we are taken care of. That we are part of this incredible multiverse, like Guru Singh likes to say. And that this realization is just what really can carry us through everything. All that starts with the sensitivity. Sensitivity to be able to connect, to relate to the whole of you, of the good and the bad. So even if you have a handicap, even if you feel you're not good in something, that there's reason to believe, for example, that you will never be able to play piano because you can't even hear notes. I can guarantee you that there is something in your life, in your destiny, that you were brought here to do, and it might not be playing a keyboard, and you're not going to be Mozart probably, but you might be the greatest artist and the greatest mathematician, the greatest humble person, the greatest giver of peace, the kindest person, the greatest giver. You know, to be the greatest giver, all you need to do is give your ego away and then give everything that comes to you to everybody. You don't need to be Mozart to do that. You don't need to be able to play the Ninth Symphony of Beethoven or even come up with the theory of relativity to do something, such a great thing. But to be a pure giver is the capacity to just give in whatever capacity you can and give it totally. But when we're partial, when we're just, ruled by this neurotic thought, this is mine, no, I can't give you that, I have to control this, I have to manage and manipulate that other, then things do not flow, then prosperity doesn't come, then sensitivity decreases, then we end up numb, we end up confused, superficial, not knowing where we're going to go next. It ain't worth it. Right? It's not worth it. A little energy, a little consciousness, a little work goes a long way in this lifetime. And this is exactly what we can do during this Khalsa Minsk camp. It is a very special time for us to really delve into what all this means in our lives. It is a work in progress. It is a work in progress when you start. It is a work in progress in the middle of it. It is a work in progress even after 40 years that you've been doing it. And I can tell you that from my own experience. Life is a work in progress. And the progress is, the more I can measure my progress is how much I can give. The more I can give, the more I've progressed. the more I can be sensitive, the more I can do all that. So you see, you as men, please do not run away from your sensitivity. Don't run away from your emotion. Because the first and the most clear thing that's going to happen is you're going to lose the possibility to relate to your woman or your significant other. Cultivate that capacity of extending yourself. And when you do that, then you are able to begin to look at your own self and heal. So let's sit down and we're going to do a meditation to develop sensitivity. Please come sitting down in easy pose. Left hand in Gyan Mudra like this. And the right hand is with Jupiter pointing up like that. Your eyes are on the tip of your nose. And just begin inhaling and exhaling very deeply and don't move. Extend that Jupiter finger really straight. Put a little tension in it. You're stimulating Jupiter that represents wisdom. Be still as a rock. Stiffen your Jupiter finger. It is said that in yoga, stiffening this finger, stimulating Jupiter, brings to you the wisdom of Jupiter, that gives you the universal energy of Jupiter. So, stimulate this while you shut your mind. And this will create, between wisdom and a quiet mind, will create the potential for intuition. Don't move your eyes, don't blink, don't shake, don't move. Inhale, and as you do, lift your arm all the way up. Just the right arm. Inhale, hold it, stretch. Make that Jupiter finger still. Exhale. Inhale. Stretch. Don't bend the elbow. Exhale. Inhale deeply. And relax. Now turn and talk to one of your neighbors. A couple of minutes. Talk, talk, talk. That's part of the meditation. Very well. Inhale deeply. Thank you, partners. Let's go back into a meditative posture. And in this next part, we're going to put our left hand on our heart center, and we're going to extend our right hand like this, 60 degrees in front. Again, place your eyes on the tip of your nose. Stiffen your fingers. Open your fingers. Breathe long and deep. Your arm is not directly in front. It's like 45 degrees to the side, 60 degrees from up to the bottom. Inhale deeply. And exhale. Bring your hand down. Just look at your neighbor and exchange a few words for a minute. Just to come down. Just a minute, a quick check-in. Inhale deeply. Satnam, partner. Okay, come back into your meditative space. Satnam, partner. I can't pronounce cowboy. That. No cow. Well, let's get fixing to meditate. Okay, so you're going to move this clockwise, and the other one counterclockwise. So we're going to go like this in front of your heart center. Quick. Close your eyes again. No. There's no indication for the eyes on this. Just move it fast. Do breath of fire with it. Yogi Bhajan said that we're doing this to change the entire blood through the moon and the sun, changing the sun and the moon of the blood. We're not doing it to become Shiva or Vishnu. We're just doing it to change the sun and the moon. Fast and furious. Yeah, make it happen. 3 more minutes. Go faster. Move it. This is stimulating your whole nervous system. It's still doing that. The part of your nervous system that is in your heart center. It is moving your blood. It is impacting all these meridians that have to do with the blood and the lungs and the heart. Those are also meridians that you need to feel, to be sensitive. Clean them up right now. Churn that debris and take it out. Move it. Let it circulate. Say, come on, stop clogging the traffic here. I need to feel. I need to feel the greatness of God. This limiting thought that is just lingering in this area, just expel it. Exhale it. Process it. Churn it. Get rid of it. Put a stent in there. Do whatever you need. Fast. Heal. Heal your heart. Come on, last minute. This is your opportunity to get rid of that crud that is just floating around in there. Get the vacuum cleaner. Get the rags. Get the water and the soap. Ten seconds. Inhale deeply. Hold the breath. Now gather all that stuff, all those impurities in your blood, all those impurities in your thoughts, all those impurities in your emotions. And when you exhale, you're going to exhale them through your mouth in one big exhale through the mouth. And exhale. Inhale deeply. Gather all this stuff again, the remnants of it, the little pieces that are here and there in the nooks and crannies. Gather them up and get them ready to expel. Exhale. Inhale deeply. And exhale. Satnam. Good riddance with all that stuff. Now feel what it is to have your heart a little bit more open, a little less burden. This is how it begins to feel to be a human. Don't be afraid of this feeling. It's a feeling of well-being. It's a feeling of wholeness. And inhale deeply. Exhale. Bring your hands to the center of your chest. May the long time sun shine upon you, all love surround you, and the pure light within you guide your way on. Sadnam, feel blessed. Waheguru. Good job. Congratulations.